What if every person you've ever met, lover, stranger, critic, or friend, was not random at all, but a living message in human form? What if the very people who made you cry, who betrayed your trust, or who lifted you in your darkest hour, were all carrying lessons your soul had been waiting for? Suddenly the question isn't why me, but why them and why now? We've all asked it. After heartbreak, after disappointment, after being drained by someone's presence, or confused by why they walked into our lives in the first place. You replay conversations, you wonder what went wrong, and deep down, you fear that maybe you're cursed to repeat the same patterns forever. But here's the truth the Zen masters whisper. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. Teachers do not always look like wise monks. Sometimes they arrive as lovers who leave, critics who wound, friends who vanish, or strangers whose kindness shatters your despair. Each one, whether wrapped in joy or in pain, is a mirror held up to your own growth. By the end of this journey, you'll understand why people appear in your life, what they are here to awaken within you, and how to bless them for the lesson, whether you keep them or let them go without bitterness. So take a single breath right now. Place your hand gently on your chest and ask, what is life trying to show me through this person? Because the first and most uncomfortable truth is waiting just ahead. Some people are not enemies, not accidents, but mirrors, and what they reflect will change everything. 1. The mirror. People who reflect your inner world. The traits you judge most fiercely in others may, in truth, be the very ones you're secretly wrestling with inside yourself. That's the piercing reality of human relationships. They function like mirrors. Every glare, every smile, every word of praise or criticism is not just about them. It is about you. Think about it. The coworker whose arrogance infuriates you may be echoing your own unacknowledged pride. The friend who never listens may remind you of the ways you silence your own voice. Even the stranger who offers a kind word might be pointing toward gifts you've long buried. The world is less a battlefield and more a hall of mirrors, reflecting not just faces, but wounds, longings, and truths you'd rather not see. There is an old Zen story of a monk who complained that the temple's mirror was always dusty. Every morning, he wiped and polished it, and every evening it seemed dirty again. One day his master said, "Perhaps it is not the mirror that is dusty. Perhaps it is your own face." That single phrase changed the monk's life, for the mirror does not lie. It only reflects what stands before it. And so it is with the people you meet. The critic who tears you down is revealing not just their harshness, but the voice of your own inner critic, the one who whispers late at night that you're not enough. You don't hate them. You hate the way they amplify what you secretly believe about yourself. The admirer who praises you may make you uncomfortable because they are pointing to a light within you that you've been unwilling to claim. Their words echo a truth you fear, that you are gifted, capable, radiant, and you can no longer hide from it. This is the difference between projection and perception. Projection is when yesterday's pain colors today's encounter. You're not seeing the person in front of you. You're seeing your father's anger, your mother's disappointment, your childhood shame replayed on someone else's face. Perception, on the other hand, is when you pause long enough to ask, what in me is being mirrored right now? That single question transforms conflict from condemnation into information. It doesn't mean you excuse cruelty. It doesn't mean you tolerate abuse. What it does mean is this: before you condemn the glass, you wipe your own face. Before you rush to judge, you ask what truth is being reflected. This shift turns pain into insight, chaos into clarity. Zen masters remind us that the world is our greatest teacher, not through sermons, but through reflections. Every interaction, whether bitter or sweet, is a chance to see yourself more clearly. Here's a practice you can try right now. Place your hand on your heart. Think of the person who most irritates you, unsettles you, or confuses you. Instead of asking, "Why are they like this?" whisper, "What in me is being mirrored right now?" Notice what surfaces, not to shame yourself, but to illuminate the unseen. When you realize this, something shifts. The people you once labeled as enemies become guides. The conflicts you dreaded become opportunities. The mirrors may sting, but they also heal because they show you what you've ignored for too long. And here lies the hidden gift. When you learn to face your reflection, you no longer fear it. The mirror loses its power to wound you. It becomes an ally, revealing not who you should be, but who you already are beneath the dust. And once you can look into that reflection without turning away, you're ready for the next kind of visitor. Not the mirror, but the teacher, the one who comes into your life not to reflect, but to awaken. 2. The teacher, people who arrive to grow your soul. Not all teachers wear robes. Some arrive as heartbreak. Some enter your life as a cruel boss who never seems satisfied, a child who tests your patience every single day, or even a stranger whose kindness reawakens a hope you thought was gone. These teachers rarely introduce themselves as such. They disguise their lessons as difficulty, friction, and sometimes pain. But look closer, and you'll see that what they really bring is growth. There is a Zen story about a farmer whose horse ran away. Neighbors came and said, "Such bad luck," the farmer only replied, "Maybe." The next day the horse returned with 3 wild horses. The neighbors said, "How wonderful." Again the farmer replied, "Maybe." Soon after, the farmer's son broke his leg trying to tame one of the wild horses. "Such misfortune," the neighbors cried. The farmer simply said, "Maybe." Later, soldiers came to draft young men into war, but his son was spared because of his broken leg. What seems like tragedy may reveal itself as a blessing, and what looks like a blessing may carry hidden hardship. Life, like its people, teaches in ways that unfold only over time. So it is with those who enter your life. Some are patient teachers, showing you the way gently. Others are sharp teachers, pressing against your weakest spots until they force you to strengthen. The angry colleague tests your boundaries. The stubborn child cultivates your patience. The partner who left teaches you courage, to stand on your own feet, to rediscover your worth. These are not punishments. They are tuition fees in the school of the soul. Think of the sandpaper friend. They rub you raw with criticism, with stubbornness, with conflict. And yet, what happens to wood under sandpaper? The rough edges as smooth, the surface shines. You may resist them, even resent them, but one day you'll notice that because of them, you have become calmer, clearer, stronger. In Zen, every encounter is practice. Sitting with a kind teacher teaches gratitude. Sitting with a harsh teacher teaches resilience. Both refine you, just as fire tempers steel. Without the friction, without the flames, you would never discover your hidden strength. The question is not whether people hurt you or heal you. The question is, what did they teach me? Did they train patience? Did they awaken humility? Did they strengthen courage? Did they force you to discover compassion for even the most difficult souls? If you can begin to see people this way, the bitterness dissolves. Pain becomes tuition, not punishment. Here's a practice to try. Open your journal and write the name of one person who tested you the most. Underneath, write this prompt: what did this person train in me? You might be surprised to discover that your deepest hurts also brought your deepest skills. In the end, teachers are everywhere. Some arrive with soft hands, others with sharp edges. Both are refining you. Both are polishing the mirror of your soul. And once you begin to recognize the teachers, you're ready for the next revelation. Because some people do more than polish your rough edges, they change your direction entirely. They don't just train you, they redirect the course of your life. And that is where our journey leads next. 3. The bridge. People who redirect your path. Some people arrive only to point and then disappear. They may never stay long enough to share a meal or walk a full mile with you, but their presence leaves a mark like fire on paper. These are the bridge people, the ones who open a door, speak a single sentence, or make an introduction that quietly redirects the course of your life. Think about it. Perhaps you once sat next to a stranger on a train who mentioned a book that changed how you see the world. Or maybe a teacher, years ago, offered you one sentence of encouragement that carried you through decades of doubt. These people don't linger. They're not meant to. They appear at the crossing, extend their hand, and then vanish once you've reached the other side. Zen offers a perfect image for this: the finger pointing at the moon. A wise master once told his students, "Don't cling to the finger. Look where it points." Bridge people are like that finger. Their purpose isn't to be clung to. It's to redirect your gaze, to show you the moon you've been ignoring. The danger is when you confuse the messenger with the message. You cling, you idealize, you wish they'd stay forever. But the bridge collapses when you mistake it for home. Life is filled with serendipity, chance meetings that later reveal themselves as turning points, a passing word that heals, a recommendation that leads to a new path, a friend of a friend who introduces you to someone who will forever change your trajectory. The rescuer myth whispers that these people will save you, but Zen wisdom reminds us, they're not here to carry you, only to help you step into the river. The journey is still yours to walk. Gratitude without grasping becomes the practice. When a bridge person appears, you bow inwardly and say, "Thank you for the bridge. Now I walk." Nostalgia tempts us to look back, to wonder why they left, to wish for their return. But just as a bridge is not meant to be lived upon, these encounters are not meant to be clung to. Their gift was never permanent. It was direction. There is a story of a monk who was once lost in the forest. A farmer appeared, pointed toward the distant mountain path, and then disappeared back into the trees. The monk did not curse the farmer for leaving. He did not beg him to walk the entire road. He simply bowed and continued. The pointing was enough. This is the gift of bridge people. They remind you that guidance can come in small doses: a smile, a story, a brief encounter. And once you recognize the bridge, you learn to walk with less dependency and more trust. So pause for a moment. Who has been a bridge in your life? A fleeting presence? A temporary companion? A messenger whose purpose was never to stay? Instead of grieving their absence, honor the fact that they pointed. Because without them, you may never have found the path you're on now. And yet, not everyone who appears is meant to guide your way forward. Some people play a different role entirely. They arrive not to redirect your path, but to guard it. They test your limits, challenge your boundaries, and in doing so, protect you from losing yourself. And that is where we go next. 4. The gate. People who strengthen your boundaries. The person who drains you may be the very reason you finally learn to say no. It feels cruel at first, doesn't it? You want to be kind, you want to be accommodating, and yet the constant takers, the charming manipulators, the chronic complainers, they push you to a breaking point. They exhaust you until you realize that saying yes to them has meant saying no to yourself. These people, uncomfortable as they are, arrive in your life as boundary builders. They train you, sometimes painfully, to discover the sacredness of your own limits. In Zen, there is an image of the mountain unmoved by the wind. No matter how fiercely the storm blows, the mountain stands, rooted in its essence. This is the heart of true boundary, not rejection, not hostility, but steadiness. To be kind without betraying yourself, to offer compassion without becoming consumed. The mountain does not hate the wind. It simply refuses to be carried away by it. Think about the ones who always take more than they give. At first, you give freely. You convince yourself it's generosity, but deep down you feel hollow, resentful, unseen. That hollowing is the lesson. It's the moment life whispers, "Your peace is worth protecting." The taker becomes the trainer, and your no becomes the bridge to your own self-respect. There's a story of a Zen monk who was once surrounded by villagers asking endlessly for his guidance, his energy, his time. For days he listened, but when he felt his clarity wavering, he retreated into silence. One villager accused him of selfishness. The monk simply smiled and said, "A candle that never rests burns itself out. If I do not return to stillness, what light can I give?" His no was not rejection. It was the most compassionate yes to both himself and the community. Boundaries are not walls. They are gates. A gate can open with love, but it can also close with wisdom. To detach is not to stop caring. It is to stop being hooked. Detachment allows you to hold love in your heart without losing yourself in someone else's storm. You can wish them well, even as you walk away. You can leave with grace when staying costs your peace. And here lies the paradox. The very people who test your patience, who drain your spirit, may be the ones who force you to find your backbone. Without them, you may never discover that self-respect is the soil where true compassion grows. When you stand firm, your love becomes clearer, not weaker. Here's a small practice to anchor this truth. When faced with someone who constantly takes, breathe deeply, and speak one clear sentence. "This doesn't work for me anymore." No justification, no apology, just the quiet dignity of self-respect. As you reflect, notice this. Boundaries are not barriers that cut you off from others. They are bridges that allow you to meet others without losing yourself. They transform compassion from self-sacrifice into shared respect. They remind you that love is strongest when it flows from a grounded heart. So when you remember the taker, the charmer, the complainer, thank them silently. Not for what they drained, but for what they built in you. Steadiness, clarity, courage. And once mirrors, teachers, bridges, and gates have done their work, a final grace begins to appear. Some people come not to reflect, not to test, not to redirect, but simply to bless. And that is where we go next. 5. The blessing people who are medicine. Some souls feel like shade on a hot day. They walk into your life and suddenly your breath slows, your shoulders soften, and the storm inside you quiets. You don't need them to speak wise words or solve your problems. Their presence itself is medicine. These are the companions of the heart, the blessings disguised as ordinary people, who remind you what it feels like to be seen, safe, and whole. In Zen, there is a saying, When tea is shared, the world becomes lighter. Think about this. A bowl of tea doesn't change the world, yet in the presence of someone who truly shares it with you, the ordinary becomes sacred nourishment. It is not the tea, it is the heart offering it. These blessing people turn the simplest acts, sharing silence, walking together, sitting in the same room, into sanctuaries. You may have met a gentle friend whose laughter lifted your spirit when you thought you'd never laugh again. Or a steady partner who didn't try to fix you, but simply stayed, quietly proving that love is not about fireworks but about roots. Or perhaps a wise elder who, with just a glance, reminded you that survival is possible and joy is still waiting. These souls are not accidents. They are the medicine life sends when you've forgotten how to breathe. But here lies the subtlety. Blessings are not crutches. They are not there to carry your whole weight, nor are you meant to drown in dependency. Mutual uplift is their gift. When you lean too heavily, it becomes an imbalance. When you allow love to flow both ways, receiving without guilt, offering without keeping score, you create something more profound than friendship. You create a living monastery where every shared breath, every act of kindness becomes a prayer. There's a Zen tale of two monks who spent years traveling together. They laughed, they argued, they shared silence. When one was tired, the other carried the load. When one was joyful, both celebrated. Neither claimed ownership of the other. Their companionship was not about filling emptiness, but about magnifying presence. When they parted, there was no bitterness, only gratitude. Thank you for the road we walked together. This is how blessing people heal us. Not through dramatic rescue, but through constancy. Not by promising forever, but by giving us enough warmth, enough presence to remember who we are. They show us that love is not a transaction, it is a state of being, and the medicine of their presence is something you can carry even when they are gone. So the invitation is this: look at the blessings in your life, the friend who checks in without an agenda, the sibling who knows your silence better than your words, the teacher whose lessons still echo years later. Instead of asking, will they stay? Let gratitude transform the question into, how can I honor them while they are here? Try this simple blessing the next time you think of them. Place your hand over your heart and whisper, may you be safe, joyful, and free, and thank you for the medicine you are. This practice nourishes not just them, but you, reminding you that gratitude is itself a healing current. And here's the great reward. When you learn to recognize and nurture these relationships, you begin to live inside a monastery of your own making. Not a monastery of stone walls and incense, but of living connections where kindness circulates like air and every presence is sacred. Some people enter to mirror, to teach, to redirect, or to test. But the blessings, they arrive to soothe, to steady, to remind you that even in the harshest landscapes, shade still exists. And your task is not to clutch them in fear, but to cherish them as long as life allows. Every person who has ever crossed your path did not arrive by chance. They came as mirrors showing you what you could not yet see. They came as teachers, sharpening your soul through pain or patience. They came as bridges, pointing you toward a new horizon. They came as gates, pressing you to protect your peace. And they came as blessings, offering shade when your spirit was burning under the weight of life. Each one carried a reason, even if you could not see it in the moment. The secret is not to cling to them, nor to curse them when they leave. The art is to receive the lesson, honor the season, and release with grace. Because life is not static, it is a river. And when one role has been fulfilled, another appears. Every encounter is a message, and every message prepares you for the next. So ask yourself right now, who in your life belongs to each role? Who has been your mirror, your teacher, your bridge, your gate, your blessing? And what are they teaching you right now? I invite you to share your roles map in the comments. Write about the teacher who tested you, the bridge who redirected you, the blessing who comforted you. Share this video with someone who has been one of these roles in your journey. Let them know their presence mattered. And subscribe if you want more reminders to see your life with the eyes of Zen. May your path be guided by clear mirrors, kind teachers, strong gates, faithful bridges, and tender blessings. May you meet each person with awareness, impart with gratitude.